This episode is sponsored by VIVARAYS, the only eyewear company that truly understands your biology. VIVARAYS are advanced blue light glasses designed with circadian biology in mind. Unlike typical blue blockers, they filter light in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, helping you sleep deeper, feel more energized, and protect your long-term health. We love companies that support biology-backed wellness, and VIVARAYS is leading the way. Use code QUANTUMHEALTHY at VIVARAYS.com to save 15% and support your sleep, focus, and natural energy the way nature intended. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Quantum Healthy podcast. I'm Andeea, a licensed addiction counselor, and along with my co-host, Laura Kissmann, a quantum nutritionist, we will be inviting expert scientists, clinicians, survivors, and thrivers to distill their pearls of wisdom attained from applying quantum biology to their fields of research and everyday lives. Our goal is to bring you easy to understand principles and practices about the study of light, water, and magnetism so you can take your health into your own hands. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Healthy podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Kiera Lea. She is the founder of Kiera Lea Wellness out of Australia and created solar culture retreats and Quantum Academy. She is very passionate about all things quantum. She is a quantum clinician, educator, and coach with a mission to empower individuals worldwide to take charge of their health. Anything you want to add to that bio, Kiera? We are so happy to have you on today.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm just looking at your little blue bottle in the corner of the screen and I'm like, oh, I have the same one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes, we had Kaden on the podcast not long ago.
Oh, perfect. Then
Yes.
you're very well versed.
Yes. Well, why don't we start with you just sharing a little bit about how you, maybe a little bit of your story and then what led you or how you found quantum biology, which is how we all know each other.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we've been chatting so long ago and we just reconnected, which has been fun. It's actually really great to kind of cross paths and then, a year later you meet each other again. It's like, oh, you've accomplished everything that you said you were going to. Like, congratulations. It's really nice to see everyone growing, which is great. But yeah, okay, so what's my background? So my background is in psychology and nursing.
Oh, shoot.
No, that's okay. So I grew up on a cattle farm in Southeast Queensland, produce, all of the things. So doing all the right things without really putting too much thought into it, I guess. And so then what did I do? Then I graduated high school. I got really good grades, topped a few of my classes. So very academically gifted, life smarts. I don't really know about that in terms of being gifted, but definitely good academics, picture type memory. And then I went on to study psychology and then registered nursing. And it was just very eye-opening for me trying to decide what to study. I was looking at the course outlines of different degrees and I was just really shocked about how many, there would be, if you look at a degree, like let's say registered nursing, there'll be 36 units across the 3 years or 4 years. And then maybe 4 or 5 of those units will be really deep learning. So getting into the nitty-gritty, actually learning about practical application. And then the rest of them will kind of just be filler subjects like policy and procedure or how to write an essay or whatever it is. And I just thought this is really strange. I don't want to study any of that. I just want to learn about health. And so I thought, well, what can I actually do? I'll be a nurse because then I can help people. And that's what I love to do. Stable job security, will always have a, finance coming in, could be quote unquote successful, And then I guess some things happen in the world that made me second guess my career path because I realized that I was much more interested in how to stop people from getting sick than managing their illness. And that's what nursing was managing illness. And it was really more focused on preventative medicine. So how do we actually stop people from getting to that point and how do we keep them well? And why is everyone so sick? And so with my nursing degree, it was actually interesting because I got a scholarship and also an employment opportunity to work at a university in the city. And so I had never really lived in a city before. So I went from living this really rural lifestyle to then moving into the city for this position. And then I started working at the university and I ended up getting really, really sick. And now I know exactly why I got sick. But at the time, I didn't really understand, I thought I'm eating relatively the same. I had no idea that light and grounding and all these things could be what's making me unwell. And so I asked my teachers at university, I thought, oh, I'm so sick. I have vertigo. I have painful menstrual cycles. I have a really bad memory. My grades started to slip for the first time ever, which really knocked my confidence. How can I fix this? And they said, well, you should go vegan. And so I went vegan and things got worse, obviously. And so I thought, okay, well, if the best people at my university can't help me and I'm only getting sicker, then what am I going to do? Mind you, my mindset around this time was really focused on pro pharmaceuticals. I thought they were fantastic. I thought doctors knew everything. I was very much indoctrinated in that way. And it wasn't until I got unwell that I had to think, okay, what is actually the barriers of my profession and where is our glass ceiling? And so I put a story on Instagram and I just, what did I say? I think I said something like, does anyone know a good holistic practitioner in this area? I'm really unwell. And so a gentleman by the name of Corey Gandavisi, I think I'm pronouncing his name right,
I think it's
reached out. Yeah,
Gazvini?
Gazvini, yeah. And he said it basically, long story short, he said, it's not you, it's your environment. And I said, what on earth do you mean? Like, I know everything about health. You can't tell me anything new. But no, it turns out it was my environment. And so changing things like just watching the sunrise, getting outside more, made me well. And for the first time in 3-4 months, I actually woke up without vertigo. I had a pain-free cycle. I could memorize things again. I was happy. I actually loved life. I wasn't depressed and anxious. And I thought to myself, if this is real and circadian health impacts our biology this much, then what am I doing in the nursing ward? What's that environment doing to our patients' health? If this is all real and this is what supports optimal health, then what, the whole environment of the hospital needs to change because it's counterintuitive. We have all of these people in the hospital thinking, this is the best place for them to be, like this is the best place for them to heal. But if what I experienced is true, then it's not. And we can do so much better and we can heal people quickly. And so around that time, the whole COVID thing happened and I was starting to think differently. And I thought, well, I don't really know what my future looks like, but I know that this is something that I want to pursue. And this is kind of what like lights my soul on fire and makes me excited and happy. And so, yeah, I started studying just like I was back in university. I had like Jack Cruz blogs over here. I had like the monitor over here. I had Body Electric over here and Jared Pollock's work here. And literally was like a mad scientist. My friends were like going out on the weekends and I was in like the office with the red light on. Like we like some takeout watching Jack Cruz blogs. It's hilarious. So
I get excited every weekend when they come in. I'm like, oh yes, it's a Friday. He's written a blog and I make it into a Word doc and then I print it off and I'm like, and I have my time with the blog. It's a bit of a nerd, but I get you, Keira.
Oh, no, that it resonates. It's good to find someone else that's the same. I think we're kind of all the same, big nerds. But yeah, so that's what I did. And then I opened up my practice and I started health coaching, working as a nutritionist in Australia. And then I just started getting fantastic results with clients and somehow I ended up here. So I guess that's my story.
So did you study nutrition in that time? Like a holistic
Yeah, I did.
nutrition?
I just did a certification online. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Very nice.
Yeah, you touched on being a nurse and working in that environment and mentioning that I love that Corey said you're not broken, right? It's your environment. Can you elaborate on the hospital environment and what in your mind, from a quantum lens, I guess, what makes modern hospitals unhealthy today?
Yeah, of course. Great question. Yeah, and I just want to touch on this again before we get into that answer that
Hmm.
I feel like I was asleep before this whole quantum health, understanding circadian rhythms. And I remember this moment, it just gives me goosebumps when I was standing on the ward and I looked into, like, if you've ever been on a hospital ward, it's like a big corridor and there's different, like every so many meters, there's a door and there's like 6 beds in each of them. So yeah, there's like rooms and there's 6 beds in each room. And I just remember looking and thinking, oh my gosh, this seems so surreal, And so I was thinking about things like there's no grounding. They're not grounded. And we know that probably part of the reason why they're in the hospital in the first place is because they're so full of inflammation. And we now know it's really well researched that grounding actually decreases systemic inflammation quite drastically in just as little as 40 minutes, increases the zeta potential of red blood cells, which is going to lower our risk of cardiovascular diseases across almost all systemic diseases. They're going to see a reduction. We have the artificial blue light. Now, this is the biggest thing for me is because something that I never understood. And this is even actually before I understood this lens of health, which it's not really a lens of health, it's really just how our body actually functions. But was the fact that we would wake patients up every 2 to 4 hours to take their observations. And I thought, well, if sleeping is where we do all our repair, why are we waking them up every 2 to 4 hours and stopping them from actually tapping into that sleep stage that they need to get into to heal? And I never quite understood that. And then you add on the lens of the artificial blue light and what's it actually doing to the melatonin. And we know that the artificial blue light is decreasing the melatonin. Melatonin makes us sleepy, yes, but it's also a master antioxidant. So that's going to be perfect for fighting against every systemic disease, illness. So combining that, the lack of sleep and then the reduction in melatonin, it's like, well, that in itself is going to stop someone from healing. And now I do have a practical lens because I do know that in some cases we do need to take patient obs, and it's really, really important to keep track of them. But in some patients, maybe the cost benefit ratio is actually off. Maybe there's a bigger cost than a benefit, and maybe they actually just do need to sleep. So I guess we can talk about the light, we can talk about the lack of grounding. We can also talk about the food. That's not fantastic. You know, I was completely shocked. Actually, this wasn't when I was in nursing school, but this was when I was actually working with a client privately, and he was in hospital. He had just had a bowel obstruction, and so what they did is they cut a big line down the middle. They took out all of his intestines and literally sorted through it to find the obstruction, put it all back in, and closed him up. Yeah, I know, and shining blue light in there too, and we all know what that does to cells. But when he was recovering, he had some post-op complications, and then he was put on an NG tube. So that's a nasal gastric tube. And usually people get this like before they go palliative care. And so it's fed through the nose into their stomach and it's feeding them. And I came into the room and I thought, oh my gosh, what is in this bag? And I flipped it over and the first ingredient was vegetable oil. And I thought, oh, okay, so these are the people that are near death and need the most nutrition as possible, but yet we're feeding them pro-inflammatory vegetable oil through a nasal gastric tube into their stomach without consent. And I mean, I asked another person about this, and she said, well, this is all that we can afford. We only get so much money from the government and we have to feed all these people. This is affordable. And I thought, well, you know, I get that, but also there's no informed consent. Like the patients aren't being told that, hey, this food isn't actually the best thing for you, but it's all we can provide for you. Do you have a family member that can bring in something else? So that's another issue, lack of informed consent. We have obviously these pro-inflammatory, just incoherent sludge foods that we're feeding people who are really sick. And then we have the fluorinated water, which we know is a dielectric blocker, completely zapping their life force energy. And then we have all the radiation from all of the machines and scans. So it's like when you put all of that together, you just think, oh my gosh, wow, if I'm sick, I want to be being looked after by my grandmother, not in a hospital.
Wow. So we go into the hospital and then we have basically and we need to heal. So we're vulnerable in some state because that's why we're going to the hospital. And we literally step in the doors to all these toxic loads that you just named. Wow.
Yeah, a couple things. Can I interject just for a sec? Yeah. My mom was in a nursing home for 14 years, she had a stroke in her cerebellum, and she was fed through her stomach with those cans. And I was actually in nutrition school and I made her a case study. And I then followed up with the dietitian at the nursing home and said, okay, here's my 30-page study and all these suggestions of how we could make this food better. And I was told that the company, think of a popular chocolate bar that starts with an N. That's the name of the company. I think if I can remember right, they provide the tubing. And because they provide the tubing, they have to then use that particular food for some reason. There was some argument that didn't make sense. And I just got nowhere. And it was so frustrating as a young nutritionist. I was so keen. I was going to help my mother and I couldn't. And I told my dad how bad I thought the food was, but I tried not to tell my mom because I didn't need her to have that belief, right? And she actually lived on, and did really well and never complained. She's a real hero of mine that she didn't eat, through her mouth for 14 years. And then just amazing hero. And then the non-native EMFs, the radiation, I never thought about how these environments were bad. That was the first it was brought to my attention because of people who are electro hypersensitive and how they actually have to have a team go in and get it all ready for them before they can even go into a hospital, because it's some of them just their systems are they got really low redox, I think, and they can't even handle the radiation in a hospital where they're supposed to get treatment. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's even worse because I know I've heard one of you say it before. It's like opening up the windows, letting the radiation air out during the day. And the hospitals don't do that. They're air conditioned and everything's closed up. So you think about all of that compacting over time. It's just, yeah, it's not fantastic, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just back to Corey Gasvini. I've heard you say this and I just want to bring it out of you. It's a joke that you always make, that when he told you to go see sunrise, you've said that you didn't
Oh,
quite get it
yeah.
right. Can you share
Yeah,
that?
I
Because
did.
I have a group coaching and one of them was doing that for the first few weeks till we caught that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's like when I had a client for 3 months and she wasn't getting better, and then I found out she was still wearing sunglasses. I was like, oh gosh. But no, so I was watching the sunrise. I lived in a high-rise building, obviously an issue. And I was just watching the sunrise through the glass. And then I was like, oh no, I actually have to open the window. And then after I opened the window, I started feeling a lot better. But it was like really, really thick glass, like blocked UV, blocked a lot of light frequencies. So yeah, for anyone listening, the glass blocks light, different spectrums for each type of glass, the thickness, but yeah, best off just to open it.
Yes.
Right. Of course, now it seems so intuitive, right? But back
Yeah,
then we were all
it's
just so
just
new to this.
funny. It's funny because I was just like, oh yeah, I'm watching the sunrise. And it's like, well, I'm not actually watching the sunrise. I visually can see the sunrise. That doesn't mean my body's actually feeling the sunrise because that glass is blocking the light. And obviously it makes so much sense to me now, but looking back, then I just didn't get it. It was just so dumb.
I still wonder, I still think it's better than not, because you're getting the blue is coming through and signaling, at least for the circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
I always think at least you get that, but you're not getting the healing red and
Yeah.
infrared, of course, right? So one thing I think you're known for in the biological space, if we want to call it that, is you're a voice for decentralized medicine. And coming from your nursing background. And I think I have a quote here I found where you said we need to stop buying into the lie that our health can be bought. I thought that was incredible. And our
Oh,
health
I
and
said that.
or maybe it was, I don't know. Tell me if this sounds like you. Our health and wealth are intrinsically linked, but not in the way we first thought. Shift your energy, heal yourself with the cost of self-study and education.
That sounds like me.
It does?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Could
Mm.
you talk about the education piece that you're focusing on and why we need that so much in decentralized and what is decentralized medicine versus centralized?
Oh, yeah, of course. So centralized medicine is centralized, so the central controller. And I think Max Goldhain did like a perfect presentation, it might be on his YouTube at the start of it. He talked about what is decentralized versus centralized.
Okay.
And basically, if you picture centralized healthcare education, we have one central node, which is the university. And well, put it simply, let's just pretend it's just one and it's the university. And so all the education to get accredited as a doctor, you have to go through a university, right? And obviously we have different foundations and institutions funding that university, and so everyone has biases. But basically every single doctor is receiving the same, I guess, education because it's all through a central node. So then we have all of these people that are all trained from the same textbooks, all having the same view. But what happens if there's an issue with the centralized education or that central node? Then we're in big trouble because we have a bunch of people who think the same, but no one who's really thinking differently or thinking for themselves. And so I'm a big advocate for decentralized education, which means we have all different nodes and we have all different people talking to each other, talking about their ideas. They're all being trained from different books. They're all looking through different lenses, and we have variabilities. The chances that we're going to get it right is much higher than if we're all just getting trained from the same thing. Now we know as well that science has been captured through peer-reviewed processing, which basically means that, like, what's a good example? Basically all the textbooks, for the information to actually be in them, they have to be approved through a body, a governing body, and then it also has to be replicated and it also has to be studied. Now, studies cost money, and who's paying for those studies to be done? It's the people that can benefit from it and can profit off of that majority of the time. And so they're people that can sell a product, right? Because with a study, like, how do you really make money? You're just doing a study, you're just throwing money into a study. Now, if you're a pharmaceutical industry, then you're throwing money into a study, but that's actually verifying your product so that you can sell it, or you can train doctors to sell it, right? So, another thing I say is we've mixed public health with private industry. So now we are trying to look after the public's health with our best interests, but all the studies and all the funding and all the education is paid for by private pocket, and the money is going back into private pocket. So I don't think those two are very synergistic, and there's a lot of room for bias and self-interest in that. When people can profit off the public sickness like that, in that way that we just spoke about, I just don't think it's a good thing. And I think we're starting to realize now some actualities and some truths about this industry, where it's like, okay, so people are selling pharmaceuticals, making a ton of money. People that have stocks in these industries, part of COVID, I think some of my trading friends said that they saw it coming because they saw a lot of money being shoveled into these different organizations who are supplying some of the medications. They're like, oh, something's going on here. There's economic growth happening. And then this happened. And then we're selling, large majorities of them. So I hope that makes sense and gives like a little bit of a brief outline into how that can work and how someone can profit off of illness through that system. So when things are free, they're not really popular. Like, for example, we used to use sunlight, natural sunlight, to sanitize and to help people's health. And, vitamin D is fantastic for helping the immune system. But no one can make money off sunlight, right? Because it's just free. We just go outside and we get it. But what they can make money off is putting people inside devoid of sunlight. They get sick and then they give them a vitamin D pill and charge that to their pocket. So that's another example. But so I'm an advocate for decentralized health. Just spoke about that a little bit, which means thinking for yourself, looking at some of the things that perhaps we can't make money off, but maybe they actually just make us healthy, and maybe that's a big enough motive, right? The reason that decentralized health is also budding at the moment, and thinking differently is budding at the moment, is because people aren't getting better. So if you go to a doctor and they're literally not getting you better, and Americans are great at this because Americans, they've been paying for health insurance for a long time, or they pay privately out of their own pocket. They say to their doctor, okay, X amount of dollars for a visit, or my naturopath or whoever, right? So they're paying for it. They see that money transfer. Whereas in places like Australia, it's all publicly funded. So we can go to a doctor and we don't pay for it. It's just charged to the public pocket through subsidy or tax. Mm-hmm. So there's not really that proof of work concept there. So I think Americans get this a little bit more than Australians, because when you're actually giving your money to someone and they're not getting you better, you think, okay, well, I want to get better. I'm already paying you, so I'm going to take my money from you and I'm going to go give it to somebody who actually is getting me better. And so decentralized health is budding because when people are looking for that other person who's going to get them better, they come to people like me or you ladies or anyone else who actually provides the proof of work for them. Because like, why would you, I think Cameron said this recently, like if you hired a plumber to come fix a leak in your house and they said, oh, I can't fix it for you, but I can put a bigger sticky tape on it, and every 2 weeks you can pay me to come back and update the sticky tape. You're just saying, why would I do that? I'm just going to find someone else who can actually fix it. So I think that's why it's booming. People actually can't get better. And if you're someone who's listening to this and you've been in a position where no matter what you can do, like no matter what you do with all of your knowledge that you have, all the money that you have, if you actually can't get better, that's a really scary position to be in. And so you have to start outsourcing. You have to start thinking differently if you actually want to get better, because the industry is just not providing that for us anymore. Something's wrong. But I'll let you guys talk now. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
No,
This is great.
That was so great. Just you mentioned two names there that people may never have heard of, Max and Cameron. Can you explain to the listeners who they are?
Yeah, of course. Max is a doctor from Australia, Goldhain. He owns Regenerate Events. So I spoke at one of his events last year. It's fantastic. He's mixing decentralized health with regenerative agriculture, with the carnivore movement. Not that I'm a big component of carnivore, just say that for everyone. But he mixes them and he runs these conferences, and he's a devotee of like Jack Cruz, and he follows all the things, and yeah, he's a fantastic guy. And then Cameron Borg is also another Aussie. He's in Sweden right now studying his master's in nutrition. But I also met him. He also spoke at the Regenerate event that I spoke at. And now he is one of the teachers at the Quantum Health Academy, doing fantastic things. Like if there is anyone that I can recommend to anyone to listen to and like literally follow all of his work, like listen to every single one of his podcasts, is Cameron Borg. Like he is so fantastic. Yeah, he's just such a smart young man.
Yeah, we hope to have him on the podcast, both of them.
Yes. Yeah, Cameron, both of them are fabulous to listen to. But yeah, Cameron goes deep in the science, and he researches really well, and we need that. It's a real light community.
We had a Q&A this morning for QHA, and we were standing there and someone asked a question, just in passing mentioned, oh yeah, my vitamin D is above 60 and we haven't had UVB for blah, blah, this long. And Cameron goes, well, actually, I don't think you actually ever lose vitamin D in your environment. Actually, I think no matter where you are in the world, you'll always have you'll always have UVB light. And everyone was just like, what did he just say? That there's no such thing as losing UVB? And I'll leave it there, but it's interesting. He's got a podcast coming out soon that delves into it more.
Oh, wow. We need to get him on and answer that.
Yeah, we're going to have to get him on to talk about that.
Because living here in Canada and where he is in Sweden, we all think we lose UVB by the definition of where that is. It, well, UVA is 10 to 30, right? Degrees above, and UVB comes up for that, right?
Yeah, but maybe that's actually wrong because of light scattering.
Oh.
So the way that it's actually measured isn't actually accurate.
Oh my goodness.
So it's definitely a reduction, but it's just not that simple. But my mind was blown too. I was like, oh, wow, this is fantastic.
Wow. Because
gave a lesson on sun practices today too. And I was talking about vitamin D, but I'm diving into vitamin D right now because we're going to have
Jim
Stevenson Jr. on. So yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, that's very exciting. But that just threw me for a loop. Okay. Back to
sorry, I'm always just all over the place.
No, this is good.
This brought out more questions. Can we ask her before we get on to another subject?
Yeah, sure.
Just in passing said you're not a fan of carnivore, knowing you're a nutritionist, and obviously you know Max Gilhane. And I spent 2 years addicted to carnivore podcasts just because they're happy endings in all the podcasts. And I love hearing, this chronic disease and they fixed it, but then you don't really hear, 2 years later, a year, and we have heard a lot of stories where thyroids were impacted, especially women. Just curious, when you say you're not a fan of carnivore, do you ever use carnivore as a tool for a short time or not at all?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the client because you're exactly right. It does impact thyroid. And I've had a lot of people who have come to me losing their hair even months after coming off the carnivore diet. I see that's where a lot of issues come, is where women actually transition back and then all of a sudden they just can't vibe with carbs the same anymore. And then also when they're still on the carnivore diet too. But I've noticed a weird correlation, whereas the first 3 months women coming off the carnivore, they don't feel well. I think that the world lacks a lot of self-control, obviously, because of like the dopamine and the blue light and all the things, right, that we know about. Let's not go there. But I think that if you tell someone, like, they're like, oh, what do I eat? What do I eat? And you're like, just eat meat. Just eat meat and eggs. Like, that's all you're eating. Meat, eggs, maybe some cheese, like whatever. Just do that. There's a lot easier for them, right, to comprehend, and they don't have to make any choices. And it's really, really easy. Whereas when you're like, oh, just go low carb, it's harder because all of a sudden they're like, oh, what is low carb? They can't always track. They don't really understand what those macronutrients look like. Maybe they'll have a sneaky soda here and there, or like whatever it is, right? There's just a lot more room for error. So if you take somebody who's used to eating like really poorly, like McDonald's or high carb, and then you put them on carnivore, of course they're going to feel better. They're going to feel fantastic. But it doesn't mean that long term there's not negative repercussions. There's not repercussions on the microbiome. Also, men and women are very different. If we even look back, someone that we all know about? The Hadza tribe. We're in the space, we all know about that. The women were eating a lot more tubers and the men were eating a lot more meat. So we've seen this differentiation for such a long time. Then on top of all of that, an example of someone who thrives on a carnivore diet is Dr. Anthony Chafee. If there's if there's a little bit of rosemary on his steak, he'll be like, who's trying to kill me with this plant? Like, get this off my steak. But what does he do? He works under blue light all the time. So we know that upregulates blood glucose levels. And if you can't control your eye carbs, because you're, I call them eye carbs, like blue light. If you can't control the blue light, then probably control the carbs that you can control, which is the ones that you put in your mouth. So of course, something like a carnivore diet is going to be better for him, and he's also a male. So I just think there's just so much more nuance than we like to believe. Sure, if my client lacks a lot of self-control, it's a male, I'll just be like, just go carnivore, whatever. They also like that. They're like, yeah, I eat meat now. Like, look at me go. So it just depends. But yeah, I just don't think that I think it impacts women's thyroids, and I think that it can just cause more problems than we hoped for.
But it has a place, I guess, in diet. You know, there's like, not saying full carnivore, but meat may have a good place in just to include all the foods, right?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely take more of like that seasonal approach to eating.
Yes.
And I do think that, and this is just like learned experience through myself and then clients as well, is we're so nutrient deficient that eating a ton of meat, eating a ton of eggs makes us feel really, really good. But once we've kind of our redox and, you know, filled in these nutritional gaps, we don't actually need to eat as much as what we thought. So for example, I was smashing like 3 meals a day, eggs, raw milk, butter in all my coffees, like steak, ground beef bowls. And I felt fantastic for a year. And then I thought, oh, I don't feel so good. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm eating like 160 grams of fat a day. Like I don't actually need to eat that anymore. And so I had to cut down my fat. And, you know, that's a whole story. But yeah, so time, as your body adapts and your nutritional status changes, like the diet for you will change as well. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear that version of quantum nutrition. We are interested in, you know, the deuterium piece as well. And you just mentioned, you know, all that fat. Can you, I know you know quite a lot about deuterium. Could you refresh the listeners on what deuterium is and maybe why animals are, what they're fed actually matters?
Yeah, of course. And this is interesting too, because years ago, when I was watching a carnivore podcast or a YouTube video or something, it's like, it doesn't matter what it's fed, just eat meat. And I was like, come to know now that it does really matter, like what they're fed.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
You are what you ate.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care what they're fed, just eat it. And I'm like, actually, I don't know if that's actually entirely true. But and actually also just energetically, like, no, I don't want to eat an animal that's like being kept indoors and like isn't happy and is fed bad quality food, just not good energy. But from a deuterium standpoint, I haven't spoken about deuterium in so long. So deuterium is a isotope of hydrogen, and there's 3 isotopes of hydrogen. Well, actually, that's maybe a couple more now, which is weird. But anyway, 3 main hydrogen. Is it like tritium or something?
Yeah,
And
protium,
Yep.
Yeah.
deuterium and tritium. That's right.
Perfect. Look at me go. I'm remembering. So deuterium is used interchangeably with hydrogen. So anywhere hydrogen can be, deuterium can be as well. Basically, what do I call it? Deuterium is hydrogen's fat sister or fat cousin. So they're exactly the same. They can be used the same biochemically, but deuterium is just a little bit heavier, which means I think it has a neutron in its nucleus. Right. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's heavier than a hydrogen. And then thermodynamically, that means that it has different properties, because when something's heavier, we need more energy to move it around the body. And so if you think of an ant, whereas like, what's something that's really small, like a little sesame seed, and he's like rolling the sesame seed up the hill, doesn't really need much energy to roll that sesame seed up the hill. And let's pretend the sesame seed is a hydrogen. Now, if that same ant is rolling like a peanut up the hill, and pretend the peanut's deuterium, it's going to take like a lot of energy, right? So
cute analogy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of like Ant Life, like Bug's Life. Did you ever watch that movie?
I love The
Yes.
Bug's Life. My favorite line in that movie is that the fly in the circus, when he says they're watching the circus and it's not very good circus. It's not entertaining, and the fly's like, I got 24 hours to live and I ain't gonna waste it here. I just love it.
I forgot about that. That's actually such a good part. Oh, you know what? I'm going to watch Bug's Life tonight. I'm so excited. With my blue light blockers on.
To waste it here. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm actually scared. Like when I date somebody again, they're gonna be like, what are you doing? And I have my blue light blockers on, my thyroid covered. Like, I thought we were watching a movie. We are watching a movie. But anyway, back to deuterium.
Yes.
Back to deuterium.
And the animals, what they,
Yeah.
why does it matter what they ate?
Yeah, of course. So deuterium, okay, so it fluctuates naturally. So depending on where you are in the world, your environment, so the water that you're drinking and also the food that you're consuming will have different levels of deuterium. And that's just a natural gradient, right? So I'm not too sure, I kind of forget, but I think it's closer to the equator. There's more deuterium in like the food and including the beef. And then the further you get away, so more towards the poles, there's less deuterium.
Yeah.
And same
And
with the
so
water.
yeah, so we talk about eating seasonally and locally, and that's one of the reasons why is because the deuterium concentration of the food that you're eating needs to match where you are from a thermodynamic perspective and the way that your body works. So I also have this weird theory. I mean, I need to talk to someone about this more, maybe like Stephanie Seneff, but I have this theory that because there's more solar energy, right, and deuterium keeps things more stable, I think it's one deuterium can affect like 27 different atoms around it. So it keeps it more stable and tighter. And so I think that because there's higher solar energy, you need to be that deuterium is keeping you more stable. But I don't know if that's true because then you also have the sunlight, which could deplete the deuterium. So I don't know. But so basically the way that our body metabolizes food, the pathway that fat and carbohydrates are broken down are different, but they all get fed into the mitochondria, all the electrons and protons. But so carbohydrates have higher deuterium concentration, right? Fats are meant to have lower deuterium concentration because that animal has actually depleted the deuterium. So its fat and its protein is going to have lower deuterium concentrations, whereas carbohydrates don't. They're really abundant in deuterium. I think it's like 150 maybe for carbohydrates, maybe like 110 for fats. I've seen as low as 90. Now, that's fine. Like they're pretty good levels. Processed food, so anything man-made, just the way that things are processed, it really hugs the deuterium. So, seed oils, I think are like 190 to, I think I saw like 295 parts per million in deuterium. So obviously like our body's never ever eaten something that's had that much deuterium in it before. Crazy. And we'll talk about what that's actually doing to the body in a second. But so when we're consuming all this deuterium, it really, really hurts our mitochondrial function. So our body says, okay, well, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that the hydrogens or the things that are coming into the mitochondria, we want to make sure that they're all hydrogens and they're not deuteriums. And so it has processes where it will kick out the deuterons first. And so the way that we process carbohydrates, right, because they're high in deuterium, our body has evolved to know, okay, this carb is going to have a lot of deuterium. So the way that I process it through this cycle is going to be looking for deuterons and kicking them out because I don't want them to get into the mitochondria and ruin my mitochondrial health. So that's fine. Our body does that. But our body also thinks through evolution that fats are really low in deuterium, right? It's like 90 to 110. But over time, because we're now feeding animals like processed foods, corn, soy, I don't even know what they're fed, like these feed mixes and things that are grown with high deuterium water and not in sunlight and all these things, right? Just GMO. The animal now and the fat that the animal produces is a lot higher in deuterium. Now, this is not a good thing because what happens is our body hasn't evolved to know fat as a high deuterium source. So we haven't actually have that mechanism that kicks out those deuterons before it gets to the mitochondria. So everyone wants to talk about eating like more fats compared to carbohydrates for low deuterium sources. But if you're eating like a grain-fed Finnish animal that's kept indoors, like that's actually worse for your health than eating just a normal carbohydrate because your body is not kicking out any of the deuterium. Whereas when you're consuming carbohydrates, it actually is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. And not everybody's speaking about this. So it's, we're thinking keto, we gotta, go high fat, to lower deuterium. And it's almost like, I don't know if that term dirty keto is appropriate for this, but it's like a dirty deuteriumed, high fat diet isn't as healthy as we think it is. And I think a lot of us have made that mistake with not thinking about Andea's little quote, you are what you ate.
Yeah, that was a good quote. I think that's right too. And especially because one of the main kickbacks that we get when I tell people to eat more meat is, oh, it's so expensive. So then you just say, oh, it doesn't have to be grass-fed finished, like just get it from the store. But it's like, well, it actually does matter. So you just need to think about it. It's just more nuanced. I wish that things were simple, but unfortunately, They're like not.
I always ask, would you eat it raw? If you wouldn't eat the meat raw, because it could have, who knows what it is in the packaged meat at the Costco or the whatever store. If you can't eat it raw, then you shouldn't be eating it cooked either. But I love that what you just said. I had not heard that's how we're getting that deuterium overload, because it's sneaking into the mitochondria through the fat. That's brilliant, Kira. You just taught me something. I'd have never heard that.
I had just only heard that recently, and I think it might have been from you, Kira. So I was really good to bring that out. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I didn't know that at the start either. It was only through, I did a presentation for my group and I was researching deuterium and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a big thing that's not spoken about. And I learned it from Tristan Scott, who learned it from, who's the deuterium researcher again? Gabriel? No.
Yes. And Laszlo?
Laszlo.
Yeah, who learned it from Laszlo, his interview with Laszlo when he used to have the decentralized radio podcast.
Yes.
I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. But yeah, it really does matter. And so in terms of like deuterium depletion, it's like it's massive. It's like you need to be eating grass-fed finish animals that are getting kept outside naturally under the sun. Really important.
We had Tristan on. Yeah, great interview on the Daylight computer. And I gotta ask, do you have one yet?
Yeah, I do have one.
You do? Because I woke up,
Yeah.
I was just last night, or I woke up this morning going, I'm working too much in the evening. And even though I have the blue blockers on, I have a big screen and I've got the software and I'm like, I need to change my life. I need to find it. So maybe it's finally getting it to get that blue light out of my life at night. Yeah. I just want to ask, has that helped you in the evening?
Yeah,
Are you
I
finding
only
it
just
work?
got mine back like last week because I left it in El Salvador last year. So I just got it back.
Oh no.
I know, I was so depressed over it, but
Oh,
it's good. I think the biggest thing, because it still has EMF, right?
yes.
But it doesn't have the blue light and it doesn't have the flicker. And the flicker is crazy. Like when I use my computer or my phone, like I feel my eyes. Well, I didn't actually realize this until I had an alternative, but my eyes felt so just like heavy and strained. And after using the daylight, my eyes just felt just lighter and they didn't feel as aggravated. So I think the no flicker is probably the biggest positive. Then the absence of the blue light, obviously fantastic. It's also just less stimulating because it's not in color. It has that, but it actually looks like it's in color. It's really weird. Like I happily watch movies on it. And yeah, it's just not, you're not addicted to it. Like my friend Michaela, Tristan was actually here maybe 3 months ago when I was here, and he was like to Michaela, how are you liking your daylight? She goes, yeah, I just like have trouble using it. It's like I just don't want to use it. He's like, yeah, because it's not addictive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you have to like force yourself to actually use it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
I was going to try and have a rule like 7 p.m. daylight, like just the way I have a rule with, sunset, blue blockers, or whatever, sunset, and now it's daylight, and I'm not let myself, maybe I'll put a lock on my computer door or something, but try to find a way to get off, just get off the screen, these big screens.
It's hard, especially when you have a family and things to do and a job. It's really tough. I remember before this was my job and I was still working like full time and then also doing this like full time. It was insane. But I think the biggest thing now is really realizing that energetics is so important. So it's like we think that work, like success, is based off of how hard we work, which is kind of true, but your energy actually also impacts it dramatically. So it's like a non-linear growth pattern. When you feel good and you radiate light and you're doing every interview that you do is fantastic, you're happy, you're healthy, it's like you just naturally progress way quicker than if you're slaving away for like 60 hours a week and you feel like, excuse my language, like shit. Yeah. So yeah, for me, I've just been prioritizing like lymph drainage, like reading at nighttime again, doing all these things. But I think it's like something everyone struggles with, especially when you love what you do, right? It's like, oh yeah, I want to stay up to 1 a.m. researching leptin resistance and infertility. Don't you?
Which is our next question.
I want to be there. Like the other night, it was like a Saturday night, and I like posted in my group, I was like, who wants to watch this QHA module and have a sleepover? So we literally were all on Zoom just like watching this module together. on like a Saturday night. It was so funny. But yeah.
Oh, well,
We
you go ahead.
we want to ask you about, I heard you speaking about just so many people that you've helped with infertility issues.
Mm.
And just and I also want to talk to you about any case studies that you might want to share, specifically around, have you had any people with addiction and maybe like there was a maybe something else. Maybe they came to you because they have MS or a thyroid issue or whatever, but then you learned, that their drinking might have been an issue or something else, and how you handled that, and just how the quantum practices and principles that we teach helped them.
Mhm. Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's do the fertility question first. So, yeah, when I started coaching, I didn't really know what I was going to focus on. It's like that thing. You're like, I don't know where to cast the net, so I'll just cast it as big as I can. And somehow I just attracted a lot of fertility clients. I think it's because of my age and just the way that I communicate things. And so I niched into fertility. I still am niched into fertility. And I was shocked firstly. I didn't realize fertility was as big of an issue as what it is, because it just wasn't in my sphere. I wasn't thinking about being fertile or children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bloody sad, man. Like when a girl's like, yeah, I'm so excited to have a baby and she can't have one. Like, and that's when you know something's really wrong, right? Because that's what we're designed to do. So if we can't do that, that's not actually your body's fault either. We need to switch the mindset of my body's broken, like you said, Laura, and being like, okay, my body wants to be fertile. Like that's what I'm designed to do. I mentally want to be fertile. So like, why has my body made the decision that, okay, now's not the right time, or maybe she doesn't have the things she needs to like have a successful pregnancy, or even if she does get pregnant, maybe the child's not going to be healthy, or even from just a general standpoint, it's like your body's sensing your cortisol or whatever it is. Like even if she has a healthy child, she's so stressed, she's in a really stressful environment. Her child's not going to survive, right? So there's, we could go so many places with this, but I don't even know where to start. I think that we try to overcomplicate things, but things can be really simple. And we try to look at data and we take hormone panel after hormone panel, and then we're stressed because our hormone panel is not right. And then our cortisol's higher because we're more stressed and all these things. But really, maybe fertility is just about doing less. Maybe our bodies are actually just sick of us cracking the whip. Maybe it's like, you know what? You actually need to do less. And that's a really hard concept to grasp, especially for women. I get it. Like I'm very high achieving, like very busy. We think we can do everything, and we can do everything. Like women, I don't know, I'm talking to you ladies right now, pretty intelligent, pretty great, pretty beautiful, pretty smart, pretty powerful. Like we can do everything, but maybe we don't have to. Like maybe we don't want to. Maybe we're like, you know what? I don't actually want to do that. And so I think that's a big thing for women, is understanding that their stress and their environment does matter. Now, everyone talks about, oh yeah, you need to reduce your stress if you want to get pregnant. But the stress isn't just a mental thing. It's not just direct stress from, financial stress or work stress. It also comes from EMFs. It also comes from artificial blue light. And so when you layer on all of those extra stresses that we now have, like we never used to have EMFs in our environment, we never used to have artificial light. When you add them on top of the financial stress, the nonstop economic growth, the never-ending to-do list, the 9 to 5 job, the kids' sports on the weekends, dinners, lunches, looking after my husband, all of these things, it's just too much for our body to handle. And our body says, you know what? I'm not going to look after Kira's fertility right now because I'm so present and I need to keep her safe. And so we can talk about a case study that I had, very special to me, because she was a client that I had in real life, actually in person. And so I would sit in her yard with her on a picnic blanket and we would talk, and we got to consult in person, which was great. She'd struggled with infertility for, I think it was 10 or 12 years. And she's beautiful. Her husband's fantastic too. They lived on a nice property, really beautiful people, very aware, just like spiritually aligned, eating really good foods. But her issue was just the light. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, that's all it was just light. And so through her lab work, I could see that she was suffering from something called pregnenolone steal syndrome. Now, I will say that in the data, a lot of people say that this doesn't exist. A lot of people say that it does exist. It depends on what practitioner you're talking to, whether they believe it's real or not. But either way, I think it's a way that it's a protocol that I can use and it gets results. So I don't really care if this isn't exactly how it works. If I can apply this to people and they get pregnant, like that's a win for me. And so she was someone who worked, I think, around until 9 o'clock at night. So around artificial blue light, which is going to spike her cortisol, and then also looking at bright lights in the morning, not getting enough sunlight. And so I kid you not, she had exhausted every single modality except for IVF. Like that was her next step. She had been very proactive, doing all the right things, organic. Now, I think I was like 6 months into working together because back then my contracts were 8 months long for fertility clients. And she texted me and then told me that she was pregnant. And I was like, oh, wow, like, no way. Like this, I'm like, oh, thank God, like, but that was like a beautiful moment.
I got
And
goosebumps, Keira.
no, you don't understand. Like this, like the fact this is what I get to do. I just thank God every day. I'm like, how could you just not be so happy when this is what you get to do? And she's just such a beautiful woman. And I actually got to meet her little baby when I was back in Australia last month. And I went to her house and yeah, we sat outside and her little baby was running around naked, climbing on the picnic blanket. And it's beautiful to have these relationships with people because now when anything goes wrong in her family, she texts me. She's like, Keira, can you look over this lab work? Keira, my husband's got this. Like, it's just beautiful. I just hands down the best experience ever. But so coming down back to the pregnant alone still syndrome, when your body's so stressed, your body literally says, okay, like I'm not going to make Kira's fertility hormones. I'm actually going to curb her fertility hormones and I'm actually going to use that energy to create more cortisol because I need her to stay safe. And so in that environment, when your body is reading that cortisol as a safety mechanism, as an indicator of how safe you are, your body is actually not hating you. It's actually just saying, I just don't think now's a good time for Keira to have a baby. I'm just going to keep her safe. And so when women start to get back into their body, they start minimizing that to-do list, turn off the artificial lights, get outside, get grounded, they can see some incredible results. Now, I'm not saying that that's how it is for everybody. Recently, I had a client who had like strep B and then her vaginal pH was off. So we had to do all these different things. It's different for everyone, but I would say like 75% of the time, the foundational things are enough to reverse the infertility. And it's sad because people are spending, a lot of money on IVF, on fertility treatments, and they're just being put through the meat grinder. Like they're all just cookie cutter programs. Like no one's actually really saying like, I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to get through this together and really doing the work that they need to do to get to the root cause of things. But yeah, and it just makes sense to me. I know it would make sense for you guys too. It's like it's our environment that's changed, right?
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I love that quote. Maybe maybe fertility is just doing less, you know?
Well, yeah. It's
Profound.
like, and I can only speak so passionately about it because like it's been my journey too, like being in flight or fight, like very high achieving, all these things, and now coming back to really like being very feminine and like getting more in touch with my body. It's been such a massive learning curve for me that I just think it's so important to talk about. I used to be that girl who would hear someone talk like this and I'd be like, oh, you're an idiot. Like you're dumb. Like you can just do things. But now I'm like, no, you can't.
We didn't really get into leptin, but leptin plays a role in all that too, in that, the more we are doing, and the cortisol's off, and we're eating at the wrong times of the day and getting the wrong light, we can become leptin resistant. And, what you just said about women getting back into their bodies, like, you can almost equate that with becoming leptin sensitive again.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a massive component. I'm actually doing a Twitter spaces on leptin and fertility like in half an hour. So
Oh, good.
chime in if you want.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have one little tiny thing, but there was a question Andeea had on addiction.
Oh yeah, just
you have
any
clients, or-
case studies with people healing their addictions?
Yeah, I don't work a lot with addiction, mostly because I've just had personal family members that suffer with addiction. So it was a bit too close to home for me. But I do know that I've had clients that are doing all the right things, and you'll tell them, you need to stop drinking wine or 6 beers at night because that's going to block your leptin sensitivity, and that's why you can't lose weight or you can't go through apoptosis or all the things. And they just can't. So it's a really big barrier. And then you have to ask, okay, well, then why are you addicted to this? Obviously, the light stuff helps, but as I'm sure you ladies know, it's like a lot of the emotional things as well.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother journey in itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's when
Actually,
I'll refer them to somebody else or to work alongside with another practitioner. Because I think you need to keep that separate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now you have a resource, me.
Is that what you specialize in?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
hard job.
Yes, it's what I'm in recovery myself 17 this year it'll be 17 years in June.
Oh.
It's coming up. And so yeah, I it just hurts me when I see people suffering. And a lot of times people will quit and they'll return back to use, and it's because of the intense post-acute withdrawal syndrome that they have. And the biggest thing that I've found is that you know, symptoms of circadian rhythm disruption and also blue light toxicity, they're the same as post-acute withdrawal syndrome. And that's a problem because if you have post-acute withdrawal syndrome and you're scrolling your phone at night, you've just exacerbated your symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I haven't had a huge caseload, but it's definitely helping people.
Oh,
So I
that's
always, it's always
beautiful.
something I ask because it just at this point it touches, well, you just said it's touched your family, it's touched you in some way. Not everybody might have addiction, but it's it's just touching everyone because blue light is addictive by design, and the inputs and outputs of the suprachiasmatic nucleus are laying right on top of the circuitry for addiction. So
Mm,
that's another
yeah.
problem.
I've noticed that actually people who are, I guess, like in recovery, like they are addicted to their phones. Like I can see it, especially at
Oh yeah,
nighttime.
it's
And
very
you can't
easy to
really.
be cross addicted to something for sure.
Hmm. It makes me, when I see like addiction as well, I think similarly to how I think about a lot of things, but it's your body saying, okay, actually, like this is too painful to feel. And unfortunately, that gets exacerbated over time because when people are addicted, they make silly decisions or they treat people wrongly or they do things they really regret. And no one wants to feel that. I feel so much regret and I haven't really made any massive mistakes, I don't think, in life yet. Touch wood. But imagine like coming to that realization of, oh my gosh, I've done XYZ for the last 3 years and I feel like crap. Your body's gone, oh, actually, that's counterintuitive to survival. Let's just drink again because we don't want to feel this, or let's just do this. Like, I don't want
Hmm.
to be here anymore. But no, yeah, definitely use you as a resource. I haven't found anyone in the space that specializes in addiction, so it's definitely needed.
Yeah, it
mhm.
is very needed. What were you gonna ask, Laura? And then we'll
Oh,
get to
a
our
nice,
signature question.
you kind of touched on it, just I've heard you say that one kind of piece or element that the quantum biology space, which focuses so much on the physical, the physical things in our environment, right? Just bringing back in this consciousness piece. And I think you may or may, I think you wrote this. Sometimes the most profound shifts in health come not from a new supplement or diet, but from rethinking the inner dialogue that we carry. Does that sound
Mm.
familiar?
Yeah, something like that probably I wrote.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Probably because it applied to me, honestly, at the time. But yeah, I just think that circadian health is so important because it's not about like this person's right or this person's wrong or I'm better than everyone else because I learn about circadian health before everyone else or like whatever it is. It's like it's about bringing souls back online. Like truly, it's not about like regulating dopamine or increasing someone's nutrient status. It's like literally bringing that soul back online. And I think that, God didn't design us to be depressed or sad or to just come here and work and die and hate our lives. And he designed us to be the opposite. And so when we tap back into nature, we tap back into that natural programming of sunlight and we get our health back on track, we're able to tap back into being online with God, like living how we're meant to, thinking in the ways that we're meant to think. And like that switch is so profound, especially for people like myself who grew up in that technological age. It's like I was lost and then I was found, like actually. And for me, like that led to a path of Christianity. But for a lot of people, Taka, okay, they're gone. For a lot of people, like they will be complete atheists, right? You can't be in this, everyone in this industry, they might not believe in God, but they believe in like the universe or a divine source or whatever it is. So many of my clients, I won't talk about my religion or anything like this. And my views on that are very unique as well, obviously, more nuanced than that. But they'll say, oh, you know, I see them start posting more quotes and getting more in touch with like philosophical teachings, or they'll be like, Kira, like I think God's real. And I'm like, interesting, actually. You got your circadian health right, and now you're like, who actually made this universe? Like, why am I here? And it makes sense to me as to why that would happen. And I'm sure you girls, like, we don't have to explain it. We just can look at each other and just know why. But it's really beautiful. Yeah, it's the best part, especially for young women. You know, I feel like it's really hard for kids these days, but if we can get them healthy, they can just tap back into how they were meant to feel, you know, which isn't sad. It's like abundant and just like happy for every day.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautifully said.
So awesome.
No.
All
And I only
right.
know because that was me. Like I was really sad and I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I was just like following suit and just being like, well, I need a white picket fence, I need a house, I need a husband, I need this and this and this. And that's like what I thought success was. And then I had to rethink all that. And so tapping back into my environment, fixing my health allowed me to think differently. And although it was really hard, I like wouldn't trade it for the world because yeah, life's just so good when you block blue light at night.
I know, isn't that funny? We're on one path because of something, but the universe has a whole nother plan, or God has a whole nother plan for us, and we end up being shown the real lessons we were needing.
Yeah. Well, even you, like you said, you know, we learned so much through our experience, and for yourself, like just sharing what you did, being 17 years like in remission is fantastic because now it's like you've been there, like you know it, like no one knows it better than someone who's been through it. So although that looks like a setback, it's actually a set up because now you have like this whole toolbox and real life experience where you can go on and help so many other people. It's like really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, the work you're doing is also equally important and thank you so much for sharing your stories today and the cases you shared and just your brilliance. So we always ask our guests our
Oh,
signature question, which is, what does quantum healthy mean to you?
I forgot about that actually. One word, quantum health to me means coherence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
very
my
nice.
word of the year.
Oh,
Wow.
beautiful.
Wow. That's brilliant.
It's really simple. It's like when you're making decisions, you're like, does this bring me more coherence or does this bring me
Yeah,
less coherence? And things get
exactly.
like easier.
Mhm.
I'll just say quickly, my friends and I have this joke. It's like someone comes like to us for a session with us for the first time, and they're like, "What should I eat?" Like, magnesium, calcium, peptides, saunas, cold plunges, and we're just like, more red, less blue. Oh, so funny.
Simple.
Love it. So first of all, you've mentioned the QHA. Can you
Mhm.
tell us what that is?
Yeah, of course. It is me getting really overworked, working with lots of clients and realizing I couldn't do it on my own. So then I recruited some really fantastic people, some young coaches and doctors in the space, Sam, Cameron, Sarah Pugh, Francisco, and we created an academy to teach other people what we know. And it does focus a lot on quantum health, but it also ties in a lot of different areas. So more nutrition, trauma, and it's a 10-month program. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, working, slaving away.
So you're teaching it right now, or you guys are building it?
So I've been building it since the end of 2023. We launched our first cohort in January. We had, I think, 20 people sign up. So I've got a cohort of 20 running right now. And then our next cohort starts in July, which will be our second. But yeah, we're running two cohorts each year. Yes.
And
Okay.
so are these practitioners that are taking this?
Yeah,
Or
it's actually been interesting. Lots of different people have been taking it. So I would say it's half healthcare professionals like doctors, naturopaths, gynecologists, and then we have like dental assistants, nurses, people that are looking to move from more of a centralized, I guess, employment to like decentralized working for themselves. So it's a good mix of both, which is good because they can learn from each other too.
okay, fantastic.
Lovely.
Is that the Solar Culture School? Is that related to that?
So the Kiera Lea Wellness. So basically, I work with clients one-on-one, which I'm kind of steering away from at the moment, just because I'm more focused on teaching other practitioners. Then I have a school group, which you can join, like if you're just a person who maybe can't afford one-on-one coaching, but maybe you can afford $20 a month, then you can come to
Mhm.
group coaching programs. I really wanted to make it accessible for everyone because I was that uni student who really couldn't afford practitioners. And by the time people get to this, you would know that it's like they've already spent $1 million on every single person. Like, oh, I'll try crazy, and then crazy works. So yeah, no, that's my little private platform. You can join. It's like 100 people in there. All my clients are in there too, so they can join all the education. And then we have the Quantum Health Academy, which is a separate company, and that's with Sarah and Cameron and Sam all together.
Okay.
So that's definitely more for practitioners who want a certification or really want to understand the nitty-gritty and the pathways and the biochemistry. It's kind of like everything that I think that doctors should have been taught, but they weren't. I put it in there. And then my personal school is just for like my clients and people who are really wanting to understand this to help themselves.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then you've also got retreats, right? Solar culture retreat.
Oh yeah, that was
Can you tell us
crazy.
a bit
I don't know
about
if
that?
I don't know if I'll do another one. That was like insane. No, that was really fun. So why did I do that? I don't know. I just decided I was in El Salvador. I was like, oh, I should do a retreat here. And so I did. And it was fantastic. It was so fantastic. I like booked it out straight away. Like within the first week, we were booked out. And then we had to hire an offsite house as well. So we had like 30 people there in total. And it was fantastic. It was like, I'm a big in-person person. So to have everyone like Kelsey Dexter and everyone and Sam and everyone coming together to hang out was like fantastic. Like when I first started my Instagram years ago, this one guy commented on my post, like literally no one knew who I was. Like I was like this account that had like 10 followers. He said, "You're doing fantastic, Keira. Like keep it up. I know that you're going places." And he came to the retreat, which was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, like full circle. But no, I think Michaela and I are doing a conference in September. I think the accommodation and everything like this was a bit too much for my brain. And I think I would probably have a panic attack if I tried to do it again this year. But we're doing a 2-day conference in Alberta, the 17th and the 18th of September. And that'll be, 2 full days, lots of people coming to speak, lots of doctors in the space, my friends, people that I know. We're going to have like stalls there. And it's just a beautiful environment. It's on the Saskatoon farm. So like there's like hobbit houses and lots of land for kids to run around, good Alberta beef. Basically, everyone can just nerd out together. I think it'll be fun.
Is it in Saskatoon? In Saskatchewan?
In Saskatoon Farms, which is just outside of Calgary in Alberta.
Okay.
Very nice.
Oh,
so I think it's like a 20-minute drive from the Calgary airport. So it's like not too bad.
Okay. Oh, not too bad. And people can head off to Banff if they get a chance, see the Rockies. They're beautiful in the summer. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Oh,
but I hope to see everyone there in person. I think the retreat was great because it was very intimate, but this can get a lot more people together, which will be good. And yeah, I'm excited and stressed about that, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
it'll be so worth it. And just how so people can find you, Kiera Lee, your website, Kiera Lee.
Yes, so it's KieraLeaWellness.com.au. The .com one is like my old website. Please don't look at it. It's really embarrassing. But I can't take it down because I locked myself out of my Shopify account. Don't look at that. .com.au, Kiera Lea Wellness.
Okay. We'll make
and then
sure
that
we
has
link the
links
right
to
one.
everything. Thank you. Because people keep like looking at it and I'm like, stop looking at it. Like, it's really embarrassing.
I might have looked at it. So, okay, I'll get to the next one. And you're on Instagram and Twitter mainly. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm transitioning more to Twitter because Instagram's just like, it's just a thing. Twitter's fantastic. It's like Kiera Lea Wellness. Oh, it's so fantastic. I've been posting on Instagram for like 4 years. And I think I've got like 14,000 followers. Fantastic engagement. Like my community are just they're amazing. Like I can't thank them enough. I wouldn't be here without them. But then on Twitter, I think I've been posting for like 6 months and I have 21,000 followers and like all my clients come through Twitter now. It's like such a more education program. Like if I type out a long scientific post, like they will read it and they'll have questions and I can reply to them. Whereas Instagram is more like just like funny things or just like quick engagement. So yeah, anyone who's not on X, it's like been changed from Twitter to X, like definitely get on there if you're a nerd because it's like fantastic. I learned so much from there.
We're going to X, Andeea.
Let me know. I can reshare your stuff so you can get into the community.
Okay. I'm there. I followed it during COVID to kind of hear some other truth.
I've only posted a couple times. I'm trying to get used to it. I even I even paid the extra so I could post longer and
Mhm.
yeah, I just haven't gotten it into a cadence of posting on there on a regular basis. But thank you for saying that because that's kind of the feel I got as well.
Mhm. It's hard to get into the rhythm and it's hard to like get a community, but once you do, it doesn't take long. It just is like nonstop growth. It's great.
So
Awesome.
before you go, I think we just want to say thank you for your courage to leave centralized medicine. I know that was a harder journey. You didn't get into the details so much here, but your consistent message that people are just not broken or stuck with their genetics. It's really their environment and their epigenetics. And all this education that you're doing in the decentralized world, a voice for research as well. I've heard you really encourage people to find the studies out there and don't just parrot other people's statements.
Mhm.
And just for one view, so many quotable things today, but I think one that really stood out for me was just think about bringing souls back online. For everybody listening that's in this field and trying to help other people, oh my God, that resonated. And
Yeah, it's hard.
I,
It's hard to fight about a pair of sunglasses or like blue sync when you're like, no, we're all on the same page. Like we're all just trying to
yes,
bring like souls back online
exactly.
because like I was that person. Like my life would be very different if Corey never messaged me or I never was introduced to this. So when you think that like a silly little Instagram post or you talking to your neighbor about something doesn't matter, like it does. Because if it changes one person's life, that's just like that's it, that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been like such a good podcast. I'm like so fired up now. I'm like so ready for my Twitter spaces.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. We'll see you next time. Thank you for sticking around at the end of this podcast. We want to thank our sponsor, VIVARAYS, who allows for us to get this information to you. They offer top of the line blue blocking glasses, which, as we know, are critical for our health these days for blocking artificial light at night. Over 90% of our time is spent indoors under artificial lights, and this puts us all prone to circadian rhythm disruption. You can use the code QUANTUMHEALTHY for a discount. Link is in the show notes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakissmanwellness.com and Andeea at andeearay.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.